business.
No.
Thanks, everybody, for joining the Rocha Revolution. I apologize. You have to listen to the banter of the once fragile Kristian Ramos, who's going to give us all of his insights from last night's State of the Union. I like to call it a state of delusion. I'm stealing that from Ruben Gallego. But before we get started, I need to bring something to your attention, Kristian, and it's not anything you've done. So calm down. I don't have any dirt on you. But I need you to check out this new T-shirt I got, and I need you to know if you're going to probably want one. You can see the flag on this sleeve, patriotic, and you see a big old gun. On this side, you see vote vets, my boys, and let's read it together. I'm going to start standing up. I do have pants on for all of you who are nervous. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses that yearn to be free.
Do you
Look how
work
good
out,
I'm
Chuck?
looking at. The shoulders on that boy.
No, do you work
Woo-hoo.
out? I'm just wondering.
Do I?
I'm sure your fans are wondering.
For those of you
Does he
who
work
aren't here,
out?
all 9 of you, you should get on my Instagrams and watch me work out in the morning, because this is all clean. I don't take the steroids. I do take some protein and things like that, like the bros do. You know, we got to have our amino acids. But look, we're not here to talk about how pretty I am and how damaged Kristian looks. We're here to talk about the State of the Union. And last night, Kristian, the President of the United States, the man that we honor in the White House, said the state of our union is better than it's ever been.
Yeah. It was pretty depressing all around. I don't think even for him it was out of touch with reality. And I think what was really frustrating for me reading all the coverage this morning is that people don't even bother to check his various lies. And I'll give you a great example of this, right? Trump last night promised during his speech that tech companies should shoulder the majority of the costs associated with massive AI data center boom, and that, you know, he had this energy plan. The reality is, energy experts are saying it's actually consumers who are going to continue to be on the hook for something like this. And let me put this as simply as possible for those in the back. The Trump administration is saying they want to help on affordability and data center costs, but they're actively blocking the cheapest and fastest ways to lower costs, more clean energy, right? Now, you're going to like this one, Chuck. There's actually polling on this from the good folks at Climate Power. I know you love those guys.
Like the folks at Climate Power. Now you've got my attention.
You love Climate in Acción. It's worth pointing out that Americans are significantly more likely to support the construction of a data center if it's powered by clean energy. Plus,
oh, here, this just in. Hang on. Breaking news just coming in over the desk here. Go.
Yeah, plus 25 points in favor if it's clean energy, but as opposed to fossil fuels where it's 16 points underwater. And so, like, this is just something that, again, if I was a reporter, I would want that in my story when Trump is basically saying that he's going to let, make data centers pay for all this stuff. And so that's where it's hard in the 2026 election cycle, where he just goes up there and just lies for like 2 hours straight. And then, he has the U.S. Hockey team up there doing whatever. And then people are like, I don't know. It's just kind of insane.
Well, you can help me out here. You've got a college degree. You're a master of history. You know all the things about the things that have went on in our politics in the State of the Union. Policy expert, worked at think tanks, y'all. He's worked at a think tank. And you can help enlighten me, a poor old country boy from East Texas, about I found it strange and also brilliant. Now, this is going to piss off a lot of Democrats, but it's brilliant to bring out the U.S. hockey team. Like, Democrats would never have enough ego to do that and pound their chest. That's what's wrong with Democrats, with your little wuss asses. But anyway, the other thing we wouldn't do is we wouldn't start giving out awards up in the stadium. Like, you get a Purple Heart, and all these people deserve it, by the way. They all deserve it, but it's a ploy in front of the American people who are watching, and we can have the argument about who's actually watching this thing. But I give them props on the show, for God's sakes. Like, you have the most amazing stories that makes him feel like he's really empathetic when me and you both know he could give a shit about folks except that ain't named Trump or kids named Trump. But it looks like from the outside looking in, this poor woman who's been sick, this person who got saved, this one who saved 140 children in a flood, for God's sakes. Like, yes, I love him too.
I don't disagree with you. It was smart stagecraft, but it's literally because he has nothing else to talk about. He has nothing else to talk about. His healthcare plan is non-existent. He kicked off all sorts of Republicans, conservatives, independents, moderate. They're all their healthcare is all much worse, right? If you're somebody who is getting your healthcare through any of the exchanges, right? Medicare, Medicaid, the ACA, whatever, it's worse unless you are working for a Fortune 500 company and are getting your healthcare paid for through your your payments, your tax pay. You're not getting good healthcare right now. Does he talk about what he's going to do to fix that? No, he's like, here's the hockey team, here's this other thing. It's literal stagecraft. It's literal, like, "Look over here, because over here I'm fucking you," and, it's a little depressing that so many people are like, like, yes.
Well,
So
it's a good news that um, a lot of people, this was the longest State of the Union in history. And I don't think that a lot of middle class, working class folks who haven't made up their mind if they are true blue team blues or if they're true red team red are actually watching the State of the Union. But the thing that does bother me, to your point, would be the coverage of a calmer, more focused Donald Trump delivering the message to the American people that I saw covered in our press, which is what people see the headlines and our algorithms that are literally paid to make us hate each other service this if we're team red or team blue to make us angry because to you said there's nothing he's really doing to make our lives better, but there's lots of pomp and circumstance.
well, actually, you're bringing something here that I think is interesting, and I think that you can uniquely speak to. Is it that the electorate is team blue versus team red, or is it that they're just tired and they want somebody to do something? And there's all these voters out there that if somebody just paid Chuck Rocha a lot of money, he could go get these squishy
Now you
votes
have my
to make up
attention.
the bulk of the electorate.
For my production team, can you turn up that last piece of that? Because I could help some folks who can't figure it out. Now, they have a lot of folks around them who have wrote master's thesis on how to reach working class, middle class voters. And I'm sure they've got it all figured out. But at the end of the day, what Kristian is talking about is that most of America is in the middle. Most of America doesn't love Donald Trump or love somebody on the far left. They're just trying to figure out how to make it every single day while their wife is in their ear bitching or their husband's in their ear bitching. They're trying to figure out, me and Kristian talk about this all the time. They're trying to get their kid to school. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get to this meeting and get back in time to pick up their kid. They're trying to figure out who's going to do this thing at the office tomorrow because I need to go get my tooth fixed for this. Or if you're Kristian, maybe I dislocated my knee because I went swimming. Whatever the thing may be, they're trying to figure that out.
It's a torn meniscus. It's fine. I'm sure a lot of viewers here can relate because they're human beings and they get hurt, and why would anybody make fun of them for that? But
Because that's how our families taught us to show love. Go ahead.
well, no. But I do think you're raising something really interesting here, and I've talked about this for a long time, privately to you, and I'll say publicly. I feel like we've always tried to figure out, like, oh, how do we talk to Latino men? How do we talk to men? Honestly, like I feel like this ad writes itself right now. You're a dad who is working hard, doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be anything really. And you're just trying to keep your head above water and you're supporting your family and you're waking up early and you're looking at the bills and they're piling up. And who's helping you right now? Not Donald Trump. That guy's literally cutting deals with freaking Saudi Arabia. Like anybody he can that'll give him money. Here's a gold bar. And he's like, yep, thank you for that. Working guy, you're out of luck. You're on your own. And then I think this is pretty straightforward and obvious. And I don't think it's a red thing or a blue thing. I just think it's a literal where's our government prioritizing it, who it helps and how it helps, and it's never been more obvious when you have freaking Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, lined up behind the president at his inauguration, lined up, at the White House every freaking week. That's who he cares about. And I it kills me that the Democrats are somehow seen as the elitist class in this country when they're literally letting billionaires steal all of your information and Doge in all of these things. And we can't seem to like tell a coherent story about that. It's crazy. I mean, that to me was missing from the responses in the State of the Union, which was a story about how so much of this country's inequality and wealth occurs when Republicans are in power.
There's definitely a group of people that are the majority who aren't participating in politics. I will say that Donald Trump got a lot of people to participate who normally wouldn't participate because they had a grievance. They had a grievance against immigrants, a grievance against the government that they thought wasn't helping them. But they definitely have a grievance to what you're talking about. Lots of Democrats have that same grievance. And you have worked with folks who've showed that even Democrats stayed home because they didn't feel like nobody was attacking their grievance, right? So there's different ways to figure out where you look at where the grievance is. But the key to what you're saying, in my opinion, humble country boy opinion, is that a lot of folks who aren't Republican primary voters or Texas primary voters are just pissed. And let's talk about Texas for just 1 second.
Please.
Is there's a couple things in the Texas early vote primary that really stick out to me. And the biggest thing is there's about 1/4 of the voters that are participating who aren't regular Democratic primary voters. Some of them, and the biggest chunk of them, are regular voters in the general somewhat, but they really don't participate in primaries. They don't see it their thing. And that's most of America. Me and Kristian's done this a long time. We can explain about voter apathy, but a lot of people, unless you're the base of the base, don't really show up in primaries. They show up in the generals, and really the generals every 4 years in a presidential election when the voter electorate goes up 30 to 40% from an off-year election, which is every 2 years to every 4 years. I know I'm getting nerdy, but all of you are lovely nerds that I love. So a quarter of these folks are new. A chunk of them are general voters. Guess what? Another chunk of them are just folks that are mad and showing up who haven't voted in primary ever and a general every once in a while. And another part that really is the most fascinating is that 10 to 12% of the voters who are showing up in these bigger counties have actually got a voter history of showing up in Republican primaries. Now, I can kind of get that being a Texas boy because most of the time in Texas, because they've run our state for 30 years into the ground, in my opinion, most of the contests are on that side. And if you're a common sense, economic driven, I want to keep my money and lower taxes Republican, you got to go over there and play in that primary if you want your voice to be heard in a primary. And a lot of those guys or girls are switching over to vote Democrat. What's your reaction to that, smarty pants?
Well, I think look, let's get to it, right? And I'm going to say stuff I don't think you're going to like, and maybe some folks aren't going to like. It's pretty interesting. But what's happening in Texas is fascinating to me because there is this in my opinion, stupid fight on the national level about Democrats are too far to the left. Oh no, they're too moderate. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like voters don't fucking care. I don't think when you go, on the base level to somebody who's waking up every day and trying to figure out how they're going to put food on the table and take care of their kid and everything else. What I think is interesting in Crockett, in Jasmine Crockett, and in James Talrico you are getting flavors of a Democrat that you ordinarily, I don't think, would get in Texas. And Talrico in particular, I think, is interesting because of his faith. And I think a lot of people associate his faith with conservatism or maybe more moderation. But I do think he does have a populist strain to him. And I do think people don't understand that. But I also feel like there's populist strains in the Bible. There are some very populist things, in Jesus's teachings and how he viewed the world. And I think Talarico does a good job of speaking to that. And so if I'm a Catholic or a evangelical Latino in Texas, and I maybe don't vote in the Democratic primary because there's nobody there for me, and I hear this and I see this, I think, well, okay, this may be something interesting and good for me in this fight. And then on the flip side, I think what's fascinating about Jasmine Crockett, and it really speaks to the primary electorate in Texas. If you're looking at Dallas and that area, right? There's the big county where a lot of the Democratic voters are. Um, it's black voters, right? and then you have San Antonio, where, a lot of the Latino voters and the RGV and so on and so forth. But who is actually voting in this primary is the
Hmm.
question, right? Do those evangelical Latinos, know that Talarico exists? And then, those more progressive, populist-minded uh, Democrats, in these urban areas, I'm sure they know who Jasmine Crockett is. I'm sure there is, familiarity with her. Is that enough to win in a Democratic primary statewide? And I also think, look, I want to give everybody their flowers here. I think Jasmine Crockett is very persuasive on the stump. I think if you get her in a room with voters and they have never seen her before, I think she actually has some things to offer folks. So I think it's going to be competitive. But I don't think it falls on the moderate, progressive spectrum. I think it really is more of a who's fighting for me, who cares, how do we actually move this thing forward for everybody?
Yes, and I think she's very persuasive. There's a big difference, Christian, between primary voters and general voters.
Yeah.
Primary voters have a lot of information. They know her from Twitter. They know her from MSNBC. They watch cable shows. They're nerds just like you are, and just like me, to be honest. But this quarter of folks who are showing up who just vote in the general are different than that. Sure, Jasmine Crockett is my friend. She is very persuasive, but not everybody can hear her speech or shows up. People misconstrued rallies. uh, you want to see my eye twitch? Like, if you think rallies are going to win you the president, I'd be in the Oval Office right now with Bernie Sanders. Rallies don't win you elections.
Well, but I think you're bringing up a point, and look, I think I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Talarico is going to have the edge because of various different things." I don't know that I don't know that those voters who would vote for Talarico in the general are voting in a primary. A controversial opinion. I don't know that that's necessarily the same group of folks because I do think he brings over moderate independents, so on and so forth. Are they voting in a Democratic primary? I don't think anybody. I mean, we are getting the early vote results back, but I mean, I don't. That's a big question mark for me. And I again, I think they bring both a lot to the table. And I'm going to even go further here, Chuck.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
going to say even more controversial stuff here. I think that what people are missing about the electorate in Texas is everybody keeps saying like, "Oh, Ken Paxton is the easier guy to beat in the general election." He's destroying Cornyn. He's up by 30 points in that primary, and I know it's a different electorate, but I also think Paxton, he may not be that easy to beat in a general, given where the electorate is and how frustrated they are and how much they want change and how they're like completely okay with a lot of the stuff that Trump has been doing in a place like Texas. So this notion that Jasmine Crockett is less is an easier candidate for Paxton to face off against. I don't know if she's able to tap into that same populist fervor, that same anger that Chuck sees. Like he's like, no, 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 I don't agree. Well, but that's where I think it becomes interesting because
If you want to know how
oh,
a black woman would do in Texas, I'd defer you to the presidential election just a year ago. How about that for controversial? And I got nothing but love for both of them and have worked for both of them. But I work for Talarico now, and this ain't about all the things. That's just some facts right there. But we are living in a world where the swing has been anywhere from 8 to 20 points. Is that going to happen in Texas? Well, there hasn't been a lot of advertising to see if that's in fact true. What really, 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 let's talk about some controversial shit. Somebody's going to have some egg on their face, and I'm not talking about Kristian Ramos because normally it's his legs or his lower back that's bothering him. I want to talk about some
accurate.
controversy. And the
Tell me.
controversy is this, Christian. What do you think about polls that came out today that showed Jasmine Crockett up 15 and a betting market that shows Talarico up 30? These two things can't be right at the same time. And I've got everybody arguing on my Twitter how one or the other is a gospel.
I just think it's to be close. I don't think it's going to be a blow. Again, I just think a primary electorate is smaller. It's more passionate, folks. And I think Talrico's appeal, right, is is in a place like Texas is for moderate independents, for the evangelical types. So that to me is a big question mark about who actually turns out to vote. I mean, you have much more experience with me in this space, and you've probably seen things that I have not seen, certainly. But that is my big question mark because I think Well, hell, I mean, I think if either of them can beat Ken Paxton statewide, they both, I think, this is controversial here. I may have my, I think if either of them does it, they're on a short list for 2028. You know what I mean? That really pushes them to a different tier of political class than perhaps they ever have been. And what's really unique is that in Texas, in any fucking state, the member, right, is the one who usually has the edge, not the guy coming out of the state legislature.
That's a good point. Do you know today Democrats increased their margin over the Republicans from a margin of about 98,000 more Democrats had voted till as of the last reporting while ago is a technical term for y'all, was 135,000 more people. So it's growing. Can you, Kristian, and I don't put you on the spot, you're not supposed to know this, but do you know the last time, can you take a ballroom, let's call it a shithouse guess, of the last time the Democrats outvoted the Republicans in a statewide primary?
You know what? I literally was having this conversation with somebody in Texas like yesterday, and it usually never. I know it usually never happens. That much I know. I don't know how far back it was, but I know that it never happens. Because the assumption was that it's usually Democrats who win early vote because that's like what we're all about. But it never happens that way there.
Well, the rules in Texas haven't changed any for all of you at home to think, well, lots have changed with early vote and vote by mail. You've always not been able to vote by mail in Texas. And you still can't vote by mail in Texas it's very restricted. We'll leave it at that. Unless you're gone, sick, dying, or like Kristian got a broke knee or back, they will actually send you about if you can prove that.
Just the knee right now. Just the knee. Thank
Just
you.
the knee. Now, if you've got a hurt knee and a doctor's excuse, like that little boy who used to show up in gym class and he couldn't work out with you because he had a doctor excuse from his mama. I digress. I love you. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is that the same rules have applied for the last 25 years. There's a lot of early voting for 2 weeks. And the big Chuck Rocha windup is to tell you that the last time that the Democrats outvoted the Republicans in a statewide primary was 2002. Kristian, that's 24 years ago.
I love that. I love to hear it. Look, I think Ray Collazo, super fan of the Rocha Revolution, he put it right here for all to see. The story here is Dems are fired up. I do think that's true. I do think we have a good shot in the general, regardless of who the nominee is. And I think because I just think the electorate is really fucking pissed off in ways that nerds like you and me, Chuck, maybe more me, nerds like me, don't really fully understand right now. And I just think there's something, the milk is sour, Charlie Murphy. The milk is sour right now. And the electorate is not here for it. And I just think we are underestimating people's frustration and anger and their desire to not, go back to the status quo. And it's like this is a big question mark for me. Is James Talrico, even though he is very different than perhaps, you know, the temperament of, say, Donald Trump, is he viewed by some of these folks in the primary as just more of the same type of politician they've seen? Or is he exactly the type of change they want to see, which is
It's
going
two
back?
different things.
What? I don't
And
know.
neither one of them are anything that the Democrats have seen before. Jasmine Crockett is not Beto O'Rourke, even though she brings the fire,
Sure.
right? It's a different way to communicate. And her whole thing is let's get a whole bunch of people that haven't been motivated to vote, especially Black Latinos and folks in the cities.
Right.
Talarico's like, yes, that and let's go talk to a bunch of Trump people and independents and folks who felt like they've been left behind, working class white people in East Texas, whoever they are. It's two different philosophies, and we're fitting to see in about 6 days which one of those in a Democratic primary is the one that works better, for sure.
You're gonna hate me for saying this, Chuck, but you know who had the exact same strategy as Talrico? Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris was from the system, though.
Okay.
And Kamala Harris and all the polling I had Joe Biden around her neck. Folks do not equate
That's
James
fair.
Talarico to any governor or anything else. And he's not in D.C. where they see as something that's broken. Let me give you one small example. 2018 was when Beto O'Rourke, your brother, ran for whatever he ran for in 2018. And it was huge turnout, and he was going to do it, and he was going to be the white savior and all the things. And I was on that bus too. Fuck, I got to have a Beto shirt. Hell, I wasn't going to get left out. Hell, there could be some money around. Anyway, the turnout in Tarrant County in the first week of early voting in 2018, that was the first election after the first Trump presidency. Remember when we all bought them pink pussy hats? We all went down and walked on the mall, and it was going to be the resurgence. They were going to take women's rights away, and everybody was fired up. I mean, like they're supposed to be right now.
Yeah.
In Tarrant County, in the first week, there was about 9,000 Democrats that had voted early.
Wow. Is that a lot or a little?
That was a lot in 2018. Compared to right now, Kristian, there are 61,000 Democrats who have voted in that gosh damn primary. Not total, just the Democrats. Like there's shit going on right now that none of you can wrap your mind around. And I can't tell you, as literally a Texas election expert, I've worked for Ann Richards. I've worked for lots of people. And I don't mean it makes me better than you, but I'm better than all them fuckers. But anyway, it makes me know a lot about elections. And I will tell you that nobody really knows. I have some pretty good ideas, and I tweeted about it today. And you can kind of tell when you can start telling the percentages of who's actually showing up. Is the white vote 46, 47, 44%? Is the Latino vote 29%, or is it more like 33%? And is the black vote there? Because here's what, no matter what you tell me, Kristian, I can promise you this, is that black people like Jasmine Crockett, and that white people like James Tallarico, and that's a given. And if that offends somebody out there, wait, let me finish. You can kiss my ass. It's just math, and I'm mathing here.
No,
I
I
ain't
want to
putting
ask
any
a
judgment.
question. I want to ask a controversial question.
Last point, then you have your question. It's my fucking show. Then, Baby Billy's a media mogul. Anyway, then there's the Latinos, which will really be the determining factor here, because what I just described to you is going to happen. So watch where the percentages are. Go.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask, because I was talking to somebody down in Texas who does a lot of work. Well, no, he's in Texas. He's a political operative down there. And he was saying to me that in a primary election statewide, typically the Latino vote is just 5%. True or false?
The furthest thing from the truth.
Tell me. That's why I wanted to throw this out here. Explain.
In 2022, we were around 30% of the electorate. But again, it was a low turnout. Lots of Latinos voting in a primary there. Lots of Latinos live there, still vote there, even though we've had this rightward shift. So in the last two off-year elections, we've been between 29 and 30, sometimes got up to about 31% of the total vote. White people come in at about 45, 46%, and black people come in at about 15, 14, 13%.
Of the actual voters, people who are actually voting, not of the
voters. When you take the voter, look at the voter file, and then you see these are, no matter what you people at home think, we can actually see the race and if they voted in Democratic primary. These are absolute numbers. Now, what we don't know, Kristian, this is for you at home, get your pencil out. What we don't know is how much of the election day voting are we cannibalizing? Because people are so fired up that a lot of people that didn't want to wait till election day in case they get hit by a truck tomorrow, they're like, fuck Donald Trump. I'm showing up here and I'm voting for James Tallarico or whoever in case they don't make it to election day. In years past, there wasn't that kind of energy. And they were like, mañana, especially with Latinos, mañana. And it's just not the case right now.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this brings me to my, I guess, I don't want to say final point, but,
I hope it is. You talk a lot. Go ahead.
No. Here, I think this is the thing. One of my favorite, and by favorite, I mean, I'm being sarcastic here. So the like features of the modern, well, maybe not even the modern Democrats, just Democrats in general, is they are so afraid of their own shadow.
Ooh,
and I do
bubble wrap, call it bubble wrap a candidate. Go ahead.
I do think the fact that Tallarico and Crockett are doing as well as they are, and the vote is so like Trump, he's the greatest Democratic organizer we've ever had in the history of this country. And he is scrambling and pissing off voters. And this is where I'm like, I tip my hat to the Republicans, because their positions right now, whether it's on the economy or immigration or anything else anybody cares at, it's polling in the high 20s, low 30s, but they are out there fighting and acting like it is polling in like 80s, 80% popularity for the electorate. Whereas our positions right now actually are polling at like 75, 80%, but we don't want to fucking talk about them to voters in places like Texas because we're so afraid that we're going to offend people or alienate somebody. And I'm like, these people don't care. They just want to know that you got some fight in your belly and that you want to go out there and win an election and make their lives better. And I had a question in here, but then I got really like riled up and offended. But I think if anything, what do you make of that, Chuck? Why do you think our candidates and our people are just so like, oh, I don't want to offend this person, I don't want to offend that person, I don't want, like what the? It's Texas. Like, what do you? In the words of Donald J. Trump, what do you have to lose at this point? Like, what do Democrats have to lose? Just go out there and fucking leave it all in the field. What are we waiting for?
We have a lot of well-intentioned, overeducated folks running our campaigns who look at algorithms and statistical, and they test every single ad before it goes out to make sure that they're having the exact right message to the right same people. You shared a video of me with Stacey Abrams earlier today where I said, look, you really want to win? You will go out and target everybody because this primary in Texas is showing that more than just primary voters are actually going to show up. So you have an opportunity to go talk to more people. But the consultant class would tell you, no, 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 that's a waste of money. And we should buy more TV and we can put this out doing this thing because you can just talk. They have, because we're the party of smart people and they're supposed to be the party of rednecks. We have actually micro targeted ourselves down to talking to almost nobody. We don't want to talk to black voters because they're going to for sure vote Democrat. We're not going to talk to this voter because they're definitely going to vote for Republicans. And when both of those voters are very apt to want to talk to us about us, and we should be talking to black people every day about what we're doing to make their lives better. We're starting to lose more and more of them. We should go be talking to rednecks about how we do want a secure border, but we want a pathway to citizenship for all your buddies named Jose who are helping you on a construction site, you dumbass. And they're like, yes, that makes sense. I'm with you.
I'll take it a step further. Because I am one of those voters that like nobody fucking talks to, right? I'm like, hey, will somebody talk to me? I'm here. I'm a Latino guy. I am a Democrat and I, work in politics, but like who's actually talking to me and my lived experience and my real life in the year of our Lord 2026. And by that
Here
I
we go
mean
with the religion again. The year of my Lord.
the year of my Lord 2026. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, I live in the suburbs. I have a kid. I have a mortgage. I have a car. I have to figure out how to like get my kid to school in the morning. And I would like to have a bigger house. I would like to have another car. I would like to go on nice vacations. Who the fuck is talking to me? The Latino guy who is just trying to like live their life and maybe not, you know, uh uh yeah. That's
I
my
don't
question.
You make a great point. Like, I think there's a lot of men, a lot of women who we don't talk to every day, and we don't talk to them, maybe because where they live or their districts. I was on another panel this week where I said, we look at these national Latino numbers, and we look at them as if everybody in these Latino numbers are going to vote, and their vote really is going to be a big part of a congressional swing this cycle. When 70% girls and boys, 70% of Latinos live in 5 states. And in those 5 states, it's Florida, Texas, New York, Illinois, and California. None of those are presidential battleground states. That means that there wasn't $1 spent in any of those states to talk to a Latino about Kamala Harris. Donald Trump also didn't run any ads there either. And so they're at the whim of whatever their social media algorithm are feeding them every day.
No, but I get shit from Republicans all the time. I get stuff all the time from Republicans, like lower your taxes, then all the stuff I just talked about, I get like, I don't know how, maybe it's because of what I do for a living and, I
It's
research.
because I put you on their mailing list, let's be honest.
I mean, I
Now
don't get.
there's one thing for sure, and I know this because I do this work, is that if you're Latino and you're in one of these 15 congressional races that have more than 20% Latinos, son, I'm here to tell you, you're going to get talked to. And you're going to get talked to a lot because guess what, Latinos? Congratulations. You've made it to the big leagues. You are now the new soccer mom. So Latinos, folks in D.C. who are Latino and who are Democrats are like, they know they can't win these elections without you. So they are putting money behind advertising and outreach to reach Latinos in targeted congressional seats. And Senate races, lots of it. And we're going to do really, really good with Latinos in these House and Senate races. My point is not about that. My point is about all the other Latinos that live in LA that aren't in one of those races, or all the other Latinos that live in Maryland where you live who aren't in one of those races, who aren't going to get any of the information that tells folks exactly what Kristian wants to tell folks, which is here's what we're doing for you, here's why they suck, and here's what we would do differently to help uplift your family and get them more money and have to spend less of it.
Yeah, I mean, I will never forget, and I think I've told you this before off of the show, but I'll never forget during COVID, I live in, a neighborhood, outside of DC.
It's a gated community with mansions, but go
No,
ahead.
no, no. Well, actually, no. So this is actually a perfect example of how it's not that. The people that live across from me, they're El Salvadorian, they're evangelical, they're very good people, right? They're Christians. And they came over one day, and they brought us groceries, and they brought us a box of groceries. And, I was like, "I don't need it, but I'll take it. Thank you very much." I take the groceries inside, I'm unpacking it. I open the last thing in there, and there's a note in there. Guess who the note is from?
Jesus,
Donald J. Trump, who wanted to make sure
shut
that I was
your
okay.
pie
Wanted to
hole.
make sure that I was okay. They had been handing out food at the local churches here. And, he had all these signed notes basically saying, "Hope
So
your family's okay."
what you're saying is, because I know how much money you make, and you make a lot of money, it means that you probably don't keep your yard up, and they think that you're barely making it over there, so they're bringing you groceries from the church because you won't mow and edge your yard. Is this all true?
Maybe. I don't we've never talked about it. I
For some reason, these people across the street from you thought you needed groceries, and you make hundreds and hundreds of
I
thousands
think
of
I
dollars a
think
year.
we're missing the point here, but yes,
Oh,
the
I'm
the point I'm
sorry. I'm
trying to make
focused
is
on them thinking you're poor.
the point I'm trying to make is why the fuck don't Democrats do stuff like that? Why don't we like send groceries to churches and sign it with our name, and you know what I mean? Like I don't understand that, right? And it's in Maryland. We're in Maryland, right? This is a fucking blue state. They didn't need to do that, and they did it.
It also said you should go over with them and make friends with them. They are people of the Lord. My wife has been reading the Bible, and I'm getting closer to Jesus now. At least I tell her she should pray for me as much as she could, and she does because she loves me. That's what you should do with these folks and figure out what their secret sauce is. But in all reality and seriousness, it is part of their organizing tool. And it's almost, we say, oh, it's like a cult and people are just following him like a cult. Well, there's also people that feel a lot of what he's doing is outside of the box and they like it. I think less of them like it today. The State of the Union last night was a desperate attempt to deflect getting back to the State of the Union from the state of where real people are today. I think I'll say that. I'm going to be on CNN later today with Jake, and I'm going to say it's the state of disorder. It's the state of carnival barking.
Jake. Jake.
My Jake, we're friends. We're first names. Don't be hating on Jake.
Okay.
Me and Jake. Jake like State Farm Jake. Like we just hang out. It's what we do. We talk about politics.
Okay. This
So when
guy. Boy.
I'm going to talk about why we've got the hockey team over at the house coming down and talking to us. Why ain't we giving out awards? Because we think we're better than that. We think that, oh, that's beneath us to do something like that and to make this thing about this thing. When the rest of America is like, oh, that's cool. That's nice to see them. Oh, listen to that great story. Oh, it does work, but we don't want to admit that it works. But we can also admit that there's a lot of energy in the Democratic Party and it would work for us too if we stand up and, to your point, stand for the things that folks really care about. And I think we are doing that in targeted places. We can always do better. But I was really curious if you really thought when he looked in the camera last night and said, no more taxes on your Social Security, no more taxes on your overtime, no more taxes on all these things, without any nuance, folks were like shaking their head like, that's my boy right there. That Trump come through.
So I have two thoughts on this. One, I don't understand why we don't do shit like that.
See?
I don't understand it because unlike we under the Biden administration, we did so much more than what this guy says he's done. Right? He didn't actually do any of those things. When you're looking at the amount of take the tax on tips, the amount of money you would have to make to actually get any money back off of the tips is way more than what people actually make from tips. So it is very hard to get money back from this thing that exists. But again, he puts it out there and nobody like unpacks it and nobody is like, "Hey, by the way, this is not true." Whereas, the Democrats actually did a lot of investment into the Black and Latino community to help them start businesses and things like that. I also think we didn't talk about that at all, ever, really, with those communities in a real way. They should have hired Chuck Rocha
Here we
and
go.
and maybe me also
Oh, well, that's
to
good. You can
go
come
into
in. Me and
yeah,
Jake will take you.
yeah, to talk to the Latino and Black community about how they're benefiting from all of these things that we're providing for them to
You're
start businesses and to feed their families.
you're
But like
hitting on the most important pieces of this, and also you're going to clean up your language because my mother-in-law I just saw join the chat. So all of that f-bomb throwing, we got to run a cleaner show over here. She don't put up with that shit. But what you're talking about is right. And I think talking about all the things that we've done, and Donald Trump made that mistake last night. He looked in the camera and like, your life is great. America's greater than it's ever been. Let me tell you why. While regular folks are like, my shit ain't got no better. Ain't nothing better around here. My life still stinks pretty bad because I barely can make it. And on top of that, my electricity bill used to be $85 a month, and now it's $170 a month. That's what
preach,
that's what
preach.
that's really what chaps my ass. That chaps my ass is all right, Christian. Just don't do the F thing no more.
All right, we're going
And
to mhm.
if you think about it, that's the voter that we're really trying to get back to show up in the midterm, right?
So I've saved this for you, Chuck.
Here we go.
I did 2 media hits before this,
With
uh,
Jake?
not with Jake, not
Okay,
with
my
Jake.
bad. My bad.
Jake doesn't even know who I am. Maybe he
That's
will
okay.
after this.
Maybe.
Anyway, I saved this for you because I didn't think about it. This is extra spicy. When I close my eyes, you know who I heard last night at that State of the Union speech?
Oh
Joe
my God.
Joe Biden.
Ah,
Joe
Joe,
Biden.
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe gave the exact same speech in 2025. This is the piping hot, spicy take that nobody wants to hear. We have seen this show before, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about all this shit that you did and the voters aren't feeling it, they vote you. I was going to drop an F bomb. Just
Thank you.
insert it. They vote you out. They do not want to hear it when you're saying everything's great and it's not really actually great for them.
But Joe Biden didn't bring the USA hockey team and give the captain a Purple Heart. He did
No,
not do that.
it doesn't work. It does that's why he brought it, because he knows that what he's selling, nobody's buying, and that's why you gotta have the hockey team and the Purple Heart and this, that, or the other. It's just like, my guy, you're on a sinking ship. You know it's sinking. You are giving strong Sleepy Joe vibes right now, and I love Sleepy Joe.
I know
I
you
love
love
it.
him.
I
There we
love
go. As we get towards the end of this simulcast, and we've been hearing all the great knowledge from the prolific world traveling communication expert Christian Ray Romano Ramos. We want you to think about giving our audience, who are all Democrats for the most part, some hope. Give me some hope about where we're
Well,
going. Give me some hope for what Democrats should be doing. Give me some ideas of what keeps us going. Just put some hope and inspiration on us.
I'm gonna tell you a story very quickly, and then I'm gonna give you hope. When I first started my business, I used to take the bus to the metro from my house because I was so paranoid about money. And every day on that bus, I would watch the Any Given Sunday speech from Al Pacino, the one where he's like, "It's a game of inches." I feel like the Democratic Party needs to all everybody needs to watch that speech from Any Given Sunday. Football movie, Al Pacino. Look it up on YouTube.
Willie Beeman.
Yes.
Willie Beeman.
That's where I feel like we are right now. It's a game of inches. We are clawing our way back to a better tomorrow. And I think it's within reach, but you got to look to your left, you got to look to your right, and you got to see somebody who is going to fight for that inch with you, because that is where we are right now. And we can win this thing, and it is very winnable. But we have got to work as a team. We got to stick together. We gotta go out there and fucking hit somebody, metaphorically speaking, not literally. Like,
Oh, okay.
we gotta hit somebody metaphorically, and by that I mean we gotta go out and get our people to vote, right?
Well, I appreciate you being on, Christian. I give Kristian a lot of love because he's my brother from another mother, and we talk to each other. I don't talk about my personal iPhone here because my wife gets mad, but I'll tell you that once a week, maybe twice a week, sometimes every other week, I just call Kristian in the morning when I'm at the gym mad at the world. And I'm like, "Talk me off the ledge, Kristian. Here's what I think. Here's why I wanna whoop everybody's ass." And he's like, "Well, this and this." And he's very calm. Kristian is calm in his demeanor and the opposite of me, and I appreciate you, Kristian, for always taking my call, talking me down. And I know how hard it is to run a Latino-owned political consulting firm in Washington, D.C., and we have that in common. And I know how hard you fight every day for our community, and I don't tell you that I'm proud of you and think of that I love you enough, but you do a great job, and I appreciate all the things that you're doing for the community. And for all of you listening, it's the Rocha Revolution. It's also known as the Baby's Billy Power Hour if you're joining us in the back of the room, because I am a media mogul. Watch me tonight on CNN as me and Jake tear it down. Later tonight with my boy Cuomo, talking about what's going on with the Secretary of the State. Maybe me and Stephen A will get into it. But for all the rest of you, be out there, be active, and get out and vote. And we're gonna have a great show after this Texas primary. Watch for me some lives coming from Texas. I'm heading to Texas on Saturday, and it's gonna get good. You better screw your wig on tight. Till next week, we're gone.
Let's go, Jasmine Crockett.
Shut up, kiss my ass.
Bye.